Hey, what's going on YouTube? Or Storm here with another deck profile for you guys today. To be profiling Monarchs post-structure deck. Now, I apologize for not getting the deck list to you guys yet. I'm planning on actually building a deck in real life. I've already gotten my hands on my Kurazes and Mega Thessalos, the Stalos. So, well, let's talk about some of the techs. I've noticed a lot of Monarch players are main decking Effect Veiler, and I see why. Veiler is really, really good in the mirror match. You can't really afford to let your opponent resolve their Adia. But I mean, I just didn't really find. I feel like running too many Veilers can really, really clog. Especially if you're. So I feel like with Veiler, like I'd have to max out on them, and I just think that's gonna really clog up my ratios. Wise. So I mean, if you want, you can always you could always just play one Kuraz, one Majesty's Fiend, and call it a day. But I kind of like two personally. As far as Fog King is use it side decked in the mirror match because it's a walking mask of restrict. It's really difficult to stop. I mean, there are outs for you as the Monarch player, but they're pretty much all in your side. Half of siding is to figure out what your opponent is going to side against you. And one of the best outs for fogging, it happens to be Ghost Trick, Jack Frost. There are some other outs I've seen people try, but I just feel like Jack Frost is probably the easiest just out to run. I think that there are other hand traps you can run that are battle related that'll get around Fog King, but you never. But I feel like just Jack Frost is the true and tried and true way to get around it. But as far as Fog King in the side, I definitely think you should. If you're playing Monarchs, you want to side deck 2 to 3 copies for the mirror match. It's just a really good card. And as far as some of the other Mega Monarchs, I mean. If you want to, if your locals happens to be covered with a lot of back row heavy decks, then Mega Mobius is certainly not a bad side deck card. I feel like among the Mega Monarchs, like Mega Kaius, Mega Thestalos are the only ones I really want to play. I mean, the problem I have with Mega Zaborg is it's incredibly gimmicky. Let me look up Zaborg real quick. I feel like hitting my opponent's extra deck is a bit gimmicky because it does, while it sounds good on paper, it leaves your field completely bare, which is my problem. Like, yeah, you've crippled your opponent's extra deck, but Pepe and Mages and Pals do rely on their extra deck, but they can OTK you without it, especially if you leave your board completely empty. I feel like Zaborg is a gimmick, nothing more, and yes, you can play it without an extra deck, so your Dominions or Domain stays live, but I just don't feel like Zaborg is worth main decking for sure. Maybe side decked against. There's some rogue decks that can't really deal with Mega Zaborg, but that's just my take. As far as other ones, Mega Rise is I'm a bit iffy on Mega Rise. I just don't think Mega Rise is that good. But yeah, I think pretty much I just don't think a lot of the other Mega, but I think outside of Mega Kaius and Thestalos, you really don't want to be playing any. As far as Vanity's Fiend, a lot of people are telling me, oh, run Vanity's Fiend or Majesty's Fiend. Majesty's Fiend is a better card in the main deck simply because it has Monarch stats, meaning you can search it with Return, you can reveal it for Tenacity, and you're already running a deck that bricks a lot. And you don't really run more cards that decrease consistency, and that's what Vanity's Fiend does. And the biggest thing is Mages and Palace players are already learning how to play around it. The thing with Majesty's Fiend is that they can't use their monster effects. Yes, they can Pendulum Summon, but they can't search out their combo pieces, which is where, at least with Joker, which is where a lot of they have to, in order to get over Majesty's Fiend, they kind of have to make, quote unquote bad plays. Whereas with Vanity's Fiend, they can carefully play around it. If they open Joker, they're still going to search out a part Naga and play around it. So yeah. So that's kind of the basics. So anyway, let's go ahead and get to the deck list. 3 copies of 80. I'm going to be saving it because I got to make sure DN doesn't slows on me. 3 copies of 80 of the Heavenly Squad. This card's effective when it's normal or special summon. You can special summon one monster with vassal stats from your deck in defense position except itself. And you can't special summon the extra deck. And if it's sent to the graveyard by any means, you can target one of your banished Monarch spell and trap cards, add them to your hand. So this card is just amazing. It's like basically a 1-card Mega Monarch, and along with this card, 3 copies of Eidos. Now, I know a lot of Monarch players aren't running the 3 Eidos, and I understand why, because you don't want to draw Eidos, you want it in your deck. But I feel like Landrobe is I feel like most of the vassals are pretty mediocre. Other vassals are pretty mediocre, I think. Outside of maybe Landrobe is good for dealing with in the side deck, and the Thunder Vassal is actually pretty good because it doesn't require opponent interaction. But I just feel like I just want to max out on IDOS because I think between the field spell and IDOS, it's not that big of a deal for me to have to I can find a way to. IDOS is typically going to be live. Also, when it's normal special summon, you can tribute summon one monster, and you can banish it from the graveyard to special summon a monster with Vassal stats from your graveyard in defense position, so these cards kind of work together. You can run 2 IDOS and maybe run like the Thunder Vassal or Landrose, which is the rock one, but I just prefer these ratios. Then 3 Erebus and 3 Ether. I think most Monarch builds are running these 3, but I'm talking about them both visually. When Erebus has the same thing as most of the Mega Monarchs, when you can tribute summon by tributing 1 tribute summon monster. When it is tribute summoned, you can send 2 Monarch spell traps with different names from your hand or deck to the graveyard, and if you do, shuffle 1 card of your opponent's hand, graveyard, or their side of the field into the deck. The cool thing about this card is you can drop it first turn and you'll still hit a card in your opponent's hand. It reminds me a lot of a new-ish version of Trishula that doesn't hit all 3 locations because you can hit something in their grave, which is really key, with Raid Raptors upcoming. Being able to spin their Skip Force back to their deck is really key. Or being able to return their Ultimate Falcons, they can't bring it back. It's pretty key. I just feel like this card is it's insane. Being able to, it's more I feel like as Yu-Gi-Oh goes on, we're just getting more and more non-targeting removal. And this card is just another really good example of that. Then 3 Ether. Now, Ether's effect is a little bit different. So, Ether's sort of like having another searcher. So, when Ether is tribute summoned, and much like Erebus, you can tribute it by tributing a Monarch. You can when it's card or tribute summon monster. When this card is tribute summon, you can send 2 Monarch spell traps, but instead of spinning a card, you get to grab a monster with 2,400 attack and 1,000 more attack and 1,000 defense. So typically a card with Monarch stats. So it's basically like another searcher for the deck, which is really good. And then the second effect of this card is you can banish a Monarch spell trap from your graveyard, then tribute summon this card. This is just a quick effect. So during your opponent's turn, what's cool about this card is it searches your Monarchs from your deck. They do return to your hand, but it's like having another searcher. And then you can also tribute summon it on your opponent's turn to disrupt their plays or dodge removal cards. A good example, say my opponent drops Dark Destroyer, I can change Stormforth, and then drop Aether during my opponent's turn, which is really good. I don't have to have Escalation out to do that, which is really nice. Then for the other Monarch cards, Mega Caius. Caius is insane if it hits the right card. If you don't know what Mega Caius does, Mega Caius when it's tribute summon, you can target 1 card in the field and banish it, and then you inflict 1,000 damage. The key thing is, if it's a dark monster, you can banish all cards with that name from every single location, which is just ridiculous. I remember I was playing against Heroes and I hit all 3 of their Shadow Mists, and it was the funniest thing. Can you not be so broken, I think is what he said. And then if it's tribute summoned by tributing a dark monster, you can target 2 cards instead. Most of the time, I love about Mega Caius is thanks to IDOS, you're always going to get his effect off to hit 2, which is really, really good. I feel like I ran 2, but I never resolved it the second time. Don't get me wrong, it's a blowout in the mirror match, but I just feel like I never really felt the need to resolve more than 1 Mega Caius. 1 Mega Thestalos. Now, this was a card I didn't really know a lot about, but now that I do, I think it's really good. So, what Mega Thestalos does is basically like a Trash Jump Shoot type effect. When it's tribute summoned, you can look at your opponent's hand, discard 1 card from their hand. Then, if it's a monster card, you inflict damage equal to that monster's level. And if it happens to be tribute summoned by tributing a fire monster, you can inflict an extra 1,000 damage. Most of the time, you will not get that fire effect, barring the fact you tribute a fire type monster. And outside of, there's really only 2 fire type archetypes out there right now, which is Infernoids and Shiranui, which are probably the most likely ones you're going to run into. So that's pretty interesting. It's basically it gives you knowledge, and it's an optimal first turn play, which Mega Caius is not. Most of the time with Monarchs, I like going second because it's a combo. I feel like it's a not really a combo based deck, but you really need to draw to your pieces that you need. So yeah. Then 2 copies of Kuraz the Light Monarch. I know a lot of people don't like Kuraz, and I understand why, but I'm going to explain what Kuraz does. This card is normal or special summon. You can target up to 2 cards in the field, destroy those targets, and if you do, each player draws 1 card for each card that was destroyed. So the main point of this card is typically used when I drop. What I'll do is I'll drop my Ether, and then blow it, have a special summon Kuraz, then have Kuraz blow itself up, and maybe blow up any other cards I have. So basically, by itself, if you drop this card, it's going to thin out your deck by 4 cards because you're sending Monarchs from the deck, you're grabbing Kuraz from the deck, and then drawing another card, which is pretty good. Drawing Kuraz isn't the greatest, which has always kind of bothered me in testing, but I think it's been pretty solid, to be honest. Then 2 Majesty's Fiend. Majesty's Fiend, like I said earlier, the reason you run it over Vanity's Fiend is that it has Monarch stats. That may not seem like much, but the fact that you can search it by a return and reveal it for the cost of Tenacity is really good. I didn't realize that at first, but like you need to play Majesty's Fiend over Vanity's Fiend because Mages and Pals have already learned how to play around it. 3 copies of Domain of the Monarchs, one of the best field spells we've gotten in a while, probably I would say since Cosmotown. So Domain's effect is that while you have no cards in your extra deck, and you are the only player that controls a tribute summon monster, your opponent cannot special summon from the extra deck. So a lot of decks can't. Mages and Pals have a lot of trouble playing around this card because they need extra deck access to get over your big Monarch monsters. Now, you have to remember, a lot of decks, Magicians are the perfect example of this. If a deck has high-level monsters to actually tribute summon, then they can carefully play around this. A good example is against Magicians. They can tribute summon their Kirans and then just go off and kill you anyway. So you have to remember that a lot of these, especially as we get more Pendulum decks, this card is going to become easier to play around, and especially as they can't Pendulum summon from their extra deck, but they can just Pendulum from hand and then tribute summon the monster. It's not that hard. So, and the second effect is that when a tribute summon of this card is that when a tribute summon monster attacks again, only when it attacks, not when it is attacked, it gains 800 attack during damage calc only. Then the third effect of Domain is that you can reveal one monster with Mega Monarch stats from your hand and you reduce its level by 2. So what's good about this is that you can reduce your Mega Monarch's levels, that way they're easier to summon. So you can essentially tribute them from one card. That's insane. This card is really, really good. And probably going to define whether Monarch, it's probably one of the main reasons Monarchs are good. And then 2 Marches of Monarchs. I know a lot of Monarch players are not meaning 1, if not like not running the card at all. That is understandable, but the same people, what I find weird is the same people who tell me that they're not running March, not running March because it's a Twin Twister bait, or running Triple Return, which I am as well, but I think that's kind of say, oh, I'm not going to run March because it's Twin Twister bait, run a card that's Twin Twister bait. So March is just really good. I like it mainly because if they try to strike my Monarchs being summoned, they can't because my monster effect will be negated, but my monster won't die because March is out. And, you're going to get Twin Twistered anyway playing Monarchs, so you're going to have to just accept it. 1 for 1 is really good because it grabs idea from the deck, kind of speaks for itself. Plus it allows you can tribute summon 2 monsters in the same turn. Pretty good. 3 Pantheism, probably one of the best draw cards I think probably one of the best draw cards I think we've seen in a long time. So it's basically, the first effect is you can send 1 Monarch spell trap from your hand to the graveyard to draw 2 cards. It's basically a Destiny draw for Monarchs. And then you can banish it from the graveyard, reveal 3 Monarch spell traps from your deck, opponent chooses 1, the rest get shuffled into the deck. So it's not only a Destiny draw, but you can also banish it from the graveyard and that effect is to search any search 3 and your opponent adds 1. So it's basically like a Destiny draw and a Spellbook Library, the Crescent, all in 1 card. That's pretty good. And on top of that, the Destiny draw effect is not once per turn, unlike the second effect. So that's pretty good. I find the card to be really, really good in testing. And 1 Rhoda because it searches idea, kind of explanatory. Idea is pretty key to the deck. 3 Return. I feel like Return is one of those cards, this card in Monarchs, where you run 1 or you run 3. But I want to run 3 because I want to see it. And at worst case scenario, it is pitch fodder for Pantheism. Even if I open with multiple copies, if I have Pantheism, that's not as much of a problem. I think Return, I feel like I want to run 3 because I want to get my searches. And it's the only real way to search Monarchs anyways. Even though we aren't running a major Monarch lineup, I still run 3 because I want to see it often as possible. And then 3 copies of Tenacity. I feel like Tenacity is one of those cards you could definitely tweak if you want to make room for hand traps. Tenacity is one of those cards that's really good, but it's not, the fact that it isn't once per turn, it is once per turn, kind of hinders it. And I don't ever find myself using all 3 copies, but it's really, really good. It's a spell and trap searcher, so but why not? 3 Stormforce, probably one of the best removal cards in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Speaking of which, I will have a video up on Stormforce later, so stay tuned. I'm going to explain how this card works. Basically, it contributes some of an opponent's monsters if you control it. So basically, it's non-targeting, and it gets over a lot of annoying monsters. You get over Dark Destroyer, get over Monarch monsters in the mirror match if they have March out. This card is just pretty dang nutty, and yeah, it's pretty good. And then 1 Escalation of the Monarchs. I know a lot of Monarch players are not running this card, and that's for good reason. The card is, but I like actually being able to disrupt my opponent's plays, and that's why this card is here. And then 2 Prime Monarchs. There were some builds I was running 3, but I kind of honestly, like, I don't really ever dump more than 2. The card is really good, so when it's a trap card, it actually can, when it's on the field as a trap card, you can shuffle, you can recycle your Monarch traps to your spell traps from your grave to the deck and then draw a card, and then you can banish it from the graveyard during either player's, or you can banish the Monarch spell or trap if its card is in your, and then special summon this card in defense position. You can also do that during either player's turn. So one of the things I've told people is this card is one of the reasons the deck, also why the deck is good. Being able to constantly recur a 2400 butt that to use as tribute fodder is really, really good. So anyway, guys, as always, I thank you guys for watching the video today. I really appreciate it when you guys watch my videos. Tune on Tuesday, Thursdays, and Fridays for more Yu-Gi-Oh content. And if you like what you saw in this video, please subscribe. Or Storm, signing out.